Welcome to the More Than Fitness podcast.
And welcome, responsible delinquents, to Minisode number 156. Shit, hit the table. On the More Than Fitness podcast, thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys, as always, for listening. We have a doozy for you guys today. We have a good one. I'm not sure on the title yet, but basically this Minisode is going to be about how much to eat for fat loss. Simple as that. Basically, there's 6 steps that I have in creating a calorie deficit for fat loss, and that's what this Minisode is going to be about. This is exactly the formula that I use for my one-to-one coaching clients, right? So if you came to me, you're like, hey, Matt, I want to lose 10 pounds in the next 12 weeks. I'd be like, sick. Here's what we're going to do. At least roughly, this is what we're going to do. So we're going to create a calorie deficit. Sorry, had a moment there. We are going to create a calorie deficit. And for those of you who do not know what a calorie deficit is, that just means that you are eating fewer calories than you are burning, right? So you have a calorie deficit, and then you have your maintenance calories, and then you have a calorie surplus. Maintenance calories are simply eating the same amount that you are burning on a regular basis. So if you eat at your maintenance calories regularly, you're just going to maintain your weight, right? So if your maintenance calories are at around 2,000 calories per day, you eat 2,000 calories every single day, you're going to maintain your weight. If you eat 1,700 calories per day, you're going to be in a calorie deficit, right? So you are eating fewer calories than you are burning, and that is going to facilitate weight loss, right? Because you don't have enough food, and so your body has to use tissue that you already have as energy, so fat and muscle, right? That's why calorie deficits are good for fat loss, because the idea is your body uses the fat that you have on you as energy, right? That's a calorie deficit. And then the calorie surplus is, of course, the opposite, right? So let's say you're eating 2,300 calories per day. That's going to make you gain weight, right? And these are all generalizations. It's a little bit more complex than that, but for simplicity's sake, that's it. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right into these 6 steps. The very first step that you need to do is to buy scales. You need to buy a body weight scale, and you need to buy a food scale, right? And the thing is, the reason why, do you have to use scales? No, not necessarily. No, you don't have to. But if you want to be as efficient as possible with this, and if you actually want to get an accurate, if you want to get an accurate calorie deficit amount, then buying scales is useful. The reason why I would recommend doing this formula and doing this instead of using a macro calculator is because the macro calculator is going to be fine for some people. However, for most, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some adjustment, and it's a very, very just spitball type answer. The reason why this formula is better is because it takes a little bit more trial and error, and it's going to be more custom. It's going to be more individual to you. However, it's going to take a little bit more work than a macro calculator as well. So it's kind of like pick your poison here. So the first thing is buying the body weight scale and buying the food scale, right? And the main reason for this is because we suck at estimating. There's been plenty of research that there's been plenty of research that shows that we just suck at estimating portion sizes, calories, etc. They even reviewed or did research on dietitians, and there were, so some dietitians showed to be off by up to 800 calories, and people who were not dietitians were off by even over 1,000 calories, right? So we're shitty at guesstimating. So what the scales do is help us be more accurate. All right, so that is step 1. Step 2 is to download a food tracking app. Some of my favorites are going to be MyFitnessPal, Mike's Macros, and FitGenie. Those are the ones that I recommend to all of my clients. Hold on one sec. Let me make sure. Dead air. This is good content right here. Whichever one you choose is going to be up to you. I would say check them all out. Mike's Macros can have a little bit of limitations, but MyFitnessPal and FitGenie are both very valid choices, right? Okay. Yeah. So step number 2, download a food tracking app. This is going to be where you, shocker, track your food. Okay. Step number 3, eat normally and track everything. So for a 1 to 2 week period, I want you to try, or actually, so for a week long, I want you to eat as you normally do, right? So try to eat as normally as you do, and just simply start to track your food. What this is going to do is the reason why I tell you not to change anything, not to make any drastic changes and just eat as normally as you do, is because what this is going to do is give us a baseline of your current intake, right? This is how we know, okay, over the past week or so, you've generally eaten around 2,000 calories, for example, right? The average of every single day is going to be about 2,000 calories. Oh, and this actually leads me to step number 4. Oh, real quick, with step number 3, sorry, going all over the place. With step number 3, with eating normally and tracking everything, whenever I say everything, I mean everything. So everything that you put into your mouth, alcohol, sauces, condiments, desserts, supplements, whatever, it's going to be a little bit tedious, but this is going to give you the most accurate baseline possible. So track everything, put it in MyFitnessPal, weigh it out, and you'll be good to go. Okay, so step number 4 is going to be average out your baseline. So after tracking for at least 4 days, and I would recommend at least one of those 4 days being on the weekend, because as you know, during the week and the weekend can change a little bit, average out your baseline. And so you take all those numbers and then you divide it by the number of days that you did, and that is going to be your baseline calorie intake. Let's say your average is around 2,000 calories, right? And so step number 5 is going to be to remain consistent with tracking weight and food for 14 days, right? And so try to hit with it, like if your average was 2,000 calories, what I want you to try and do is try to hit within about 100 calories either way of that. If you can hit within 50 calories of either way, even better. So what I mean is between 1,900 and 2,100 calories every single day. If you try and stay within that, it's just going to give us a more accurate reading, because that's that variable we've kept constant over these 2 weeks. And so we know that's about the amount that you're eating every single day. Okay, so try to hit within 100 calories of your target, and then weigh yourself every single morning, or at least most mornings, at least like 5 out of 7 days. And you do this after you use the restroom and before you eat anything. This just allows us to create a baseline and stay consistent every single day, as opposed to trying to weigh yourself after the gym and then after you've eaten a certain meal, and then the meal changes every single day, right? And so you're weighing yourself at 3 p.m. one day, 7 p.m. the other day, 8 a.m. the other day. We want to make it consistent every single day. So the easiest thing to do, wake up, use the bathroom, step on the scale, and it just makes it a very easy habit and keeps it consistent. Okay, and then after that, step number 6 is to analyze your weight trends, right? And this is kind of where we figure out, okay, where is our maintenance calories? Where is how do we create a calorie deficit? And so let's say you're eating 2,000 calories every single day. And just for the sake of argument, I'll keep it simple. Let's say that you've been eating 2,000 calories every single day and you've been maintaining your weight mostly, right? So of course, weight is going to fluctuate on a day-to-day basis, but over the week or 2 weeks that you have been tracking, you notice, okay, I'm eating around 2,000 calories per day. And on average, my weight is staying around 170 pounds, right? So what that tells us is that, okay, if we want to lose body fat, if we want to go on a fat loss diet, it makes sense that, okay, now we know that 2,000 calories is about our maintenance calories. We just need to take away, let's say 250 to 500 calories to create a calorie deficit. And then that is going to allow us to facilitate weight loss. And honestly, it is just about as simple as that. And so if you're curious about like macros and things like that, of course, that can take quite a whole other conversation. But I think a very easy way for you to do it, and it's the exact same way that I tell my clients, is okay. So now we have a calorie target every single day that we know is going to facilitate fat loss, right? So let's say your maintenance calories are 2,000 calories. I'm going to tell you to eat about 1,700 calories every single day. So that would be And to make it easier, I'll give you a range of calories to try and hit every single day. So let's say 1,600 to 1,800 calories every single day. If you can try and hit within that range, you're going to be golden, right? If you can do that on average most days, you'll probably end up losing some body fat. So then after we have the calorie target, then let's set a protein minimum. This can also be very easy if you have been tracking your calories and your macros just in general. You've been tracking your food over the past 2 weeks or so, because now you can look, okay, how much protein am I eating on a regular basis? And so I think a good general recommendation for most people is going to be at least about 0.7 grams per pound per body weight, per pound of body weight, right? So if you're 170 pounds, you just do 170 times 0.7, and that is going to spit out how many grams of protein you should eat on a regular basis. If you're a little bit heavier, right? If you're a little bit on the heavier side, then you can maybe drop down to 0.6 and 0.5, whatever. You should be fine. Basically, all I want you to do is look at how much protein you're eating on a regular basis right now and just try to bump it up just a little bit. So let's say you're 170 pounds. Let's say you've been eating about 100 grams of protein on average per day. Well, now a good goal may be to, okay, let's bump it up to 120 grams per day, right? And that can be your new target, and that is going to favor muscle gain, or at least retaining your muscle while in a calorie deficit, while trying to lose fat, right? So remember with the calorie deficit, the reason why the calorie deficit is effective at fat loss is because our body doesn't have enough energy from food, so it has to use our tissue instead. And so if we want to bias it to use fat instead of muscle, we resistance train, right? And then we also keep our protein high. Those two things are going to make sure that our body biases fat being used for energy as opposed to muscle. It's not going to be perfect. However, we can do things to bias the fat loss as opposed to fat and muscle loss, right? That's kind of the key there. So you have your calorie goal, then you have your protein minimum. So let's say your minimum is 120 grams of protein per day. And then the last thing I do with my clients is set a fiber goal. And the reason a fiber goal is important is so that you make sure that you eat plenty of nutritious foods on a regular basis. Fiber is found in foods like vegetables, fruits, whole grains, etc., right? All these foods that are very nutritious, that have high amounts of vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, etc., etc. And so you basically can't hit your fiber goal unless you are eating a decent amount of these nutritious foods on a regular basis. So I think for a lot of people, a good minimum, a good fiber minimum is going to be about 20 grams per day. Just use that as a starting point, because you might be surprised about how much fiber you're not actually consuming, right? So setting that at about 20 grams per day, and you should be all set. Do not use supplements to hit the fiber goal. That defeats the purpose. Do not use like Quest bars, right? They have like 6,000 grams of fiber in them. Those can, if you're going to count Quest bars, count like half of it, right? So what I'm saying is just don't take the shortcut of using some type of protein supplement or some type of carb source or whatever that has a very high amount of artificial, basically fiber in it. It's not actually artificial, but having something like a Quest bar where it's like 17 grams of fiber, it's like, okay, that's not kind of what we're going here. The main way to get the fiber should be fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, right? So you have your calorie goal, your calorie range every single day, you have a protein minimum, and you have your fiber target. And if you follow those, I promise you, if you do that pretty meticulously for 2 to 4 weeks, you're going to have a very good idea about how much you need to eat every single day to lose body fat. All right, and that is it for this Minisode, ladies and gentlemen. Minisode number 156. Thank you guys, as always, for listening and for watching. See ya.